guys, I'm back. It's been like 6 months since I've done a video, and I apologize for disappearing. We had a pretty big family crisis the last, like 5 months with some illness. My father-in-law has been extremely ill, and it's in and out of the hospital, in and out of the ICU. I mean, it's just been very, very disruptive. So my good intentions of being able to do videos but really often and doing posts really often all went by the wayside. It's completely disrupted all our lives. But it's a new year, and I'm trying to get back on track. And I still have a lot I want to share with you guys. So thank you for all your patience. I know a lot of you probably were wondering where I went. I did get a few messages, and I'm sorry about that. It's just, you know how it is. So anyway, I am excited to do a video for a few reasons. One, huge supermoon coming tomorrow. I'm so excited. It's pretty powerful. Now, I don't know a lot about astrology and moons. I mean, I know how they affect me, but I'm not going to speak on that too much because I think there's a lot of information out there. You guys can Google it. There's just such cool info on what it's about. But for me, it's a lot about bringing to the surface what needs to be released, kind of shining a mirror. You know, the full moon I see as a mirror, kind of showing me what do I need to work on, what needs to be released. And then I see it as a clearing. So I don't usually do a lot of work around moons, but this one feels really potent. And the one in August was really big too, the eclipse that I did a video about a while ago. So anyway, that's just a side note. The moon's exciting. But two really interesting posts came up to recently, actually this week, that I want to speak about. One was about people kind of being at a lower vibration, but posing as light workers, or kind of professing to have skills and then kind of giving off a vibe that gives you guys kind of icky feelings. You guys can tell they're not really on the up and up. And then the other one was being asked to give medium messages to strangers. And I want to speak on both because I'm really excited. I have a lot of experience with both. However, I was like, how do I tie this together so I can do one big fat video? So what I realized was the common theme with both is what are the deeper soul lessons for you when these kinds of situations present themselves? So I'll just go off what my experiences were with this stuff. First, I'll start with the medium readings. When I was new to kind of doing this professionally, which was like a decade ago, I guess, I had a lot of self-doubt. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how to open up and tune in. Didn't know much about the clairs. I didn't know much about chakras. I was just kind of, I knew I was getting, connected with people, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And in the very beginning, I had a lot of fear around doing it, just messing up, not doing it right, somehow clouding the message. I just had a lot of fear around not being a good enough medium or not being worthy of doing this work. And what I wanted to share was my guides at one point decided that the only way they were going to kick me out of the nest, because I was only giving readings to loved ones, family members, friends. I was really like shut down around doing it professionally, was they started letting people through for me to give messages to strangers. And it really surprised me and it scared me. And I was completely afraid I was going to look like a fool. I was going to be shut down. I was going to screw up. I was not even going to give the right message. Or I was going to be laughed at. Like, I had a lot, it brought up a lot of stuff for me. And the reason they did this was they wanted me to start trusting myself and building my self-worth and self-esteem. And so very very hesitantly, I would approach people. This didn't happen a lot, but it was just a few key times where I was like really pushed to do it. And I was received like graciously every time. And afterwards I was like, oh, you guys are trying to help me build my self-esteem, my self-confidence around giving these messages. Then they shifted the lesson where I started getting more and more strangers coming to me at all hours of the day and night. And it was a different lesson. Instead of me building up my confidence, because at that point I was like, okay, I think I can actually kind of do this. Then it was about boundaries and firm boundaries and really knowing what for me as a medium, like as a personal boundary, what was comfortable for me and who I wanted to work with and how often I wanted to do it and when I wanted to do it. And so I really had to kind of sit through that and think, what are my rules? Like, what are my guidelines for my guides? And so I set a whole bunch of rules down around when I'm contacted and when I'm allowed, when strangers are allowed to come through. And one example, I think I've posted about this before, but one example I had was a firm, like, nobody is allowed in my house. I just, my loved ones, of course, loved ones and people I know and trust, and my guides and angels, those are all okay, but no strangers are allowed in my off hours when I'm off duty, because this is my family time, this is my home time. I have a baby, I have animals, you know, my husband, like it's my quiet time, and it's work to be a medium. And so I just set my rule, like, I'm off duty when I'm home, and there's like, I see like a white light wall around my home, and nobody is allowed in, and it's never been violated. I just had to say it once, and my guides were like, got it, okay. So one thing I like to always tell my clients is you can think of your guides as bouncers. They're the red velvet rope bouncers, and so you just give them your guidelines. If you're cool with them coming in your house, that's totally fine, but it has to be okay with you. It has to really resonate with you. So that's my advice around when you get kind of nudged to give a message to a stranger. I would say stop and think about, what's the deeper meaning for you around this? Is it that you're supposed to learn confidence and worth and that you actually can be a medium? Is it about learning boundaries and empowerment, where you're kind of like, hey, I don't want to be bothered when I'm out to dinner with my family, or at the grocery store, or at CVS? Like, stop. So my advice is really look within and think, what are my guides trying to teach me? Because your guides are the ones that are always, they're the ones that let everybody through. So if you're getting bombarded, there's a reason. If you are not getting anyone, there's a reason. So it's not to, none of it's to harm you or scare you. It's all for your growth and for your healing. So that's really quick around that. And I can speak more about that if you guys want me to later, but I realize this is already 6 minutes. So the other one that I wanted to talk about was people posing as light workers. I had a very traumatic, huge experience with somebody that I thought was a very, very close friend. Trusted her completely. And for 6 years, she kind of subtly manipulated me and manipulated messages to me and twisted my connection. Like, I trusted her over my own connection. It was very deep and dark, and it was a mess. And as somebody I think had posted on here, she was coming from a wounded place. She had not dealt with her own stuff. She had a lot of her own insecurities. There was a weird competition in her where she wanted to be better than me. There's a lot of layers. What I wanted to share was, after it was all done and all the energy was cleared out and she was out of my life, I found out that we had some very serious past life karma that we were working out, where in the past, we've been in really like dysfunctional relationships in other lives around spirituality. Interestingly, like, a lot of times we both incarnate as mediums, and either we're family, or we're business partners, or we're working together, or we're, I think we were in a cult once. Like, I mean, how we all have many, many different lives that we've experienced. But each time there's been this weird power play and competition and control and nastiness that just kept happening over and over and over. And so in this life, it was designed where it was supposed to come to a head, where I finally reached a point where I was able to be empowered enough to say, this feels toxic, I'm done with this. I wish you love and light, like, go forth, heal, do what you need to do, but your energy and my energy together is not good. And it took me a long time to say that, because I was scared of her. I was really scared of her. She had a bad temper and some pretty dark energy. So that was around my lessons around empowerment and worth and having a voice and speaking up for myself and feeling safe doing so. So one of you had written that you were curious about how things that start as problems are tied to deeper lessons. So that's a really good example, because she gave me a lot of grief and a lot of heartache, and I had such anxiety around her all the time. And yet I was locked into this really toxic friendship, and it was bound up with spirituality because we were both mediums. So there was a lot of we shared a lot of spiritual growth and experience together. So it got really complicated and really confusing for me. But underneath all those layers, it was about me learning to stand up for myself and to have healthy boundaries, again, the boundaries, and to have empowerment, and to have to feel worthy enough to speak up and say, you know what, this is damaging me. Like, I'm scared of you, but this is damaging me, and I have to end it. And so I did. And once I did that, my guides told me that I had finally ended this huge, long, multi-life cycle of karma, and I'd finally cleared the books on it. Because what they had been waiting for was me to be brave enough to actually put my foot down and say, this is not a healthy situation. it was really toxic. There was a lot of gaslighting. There was a lot of emotional manipulation. And I just had to find the strength to say, this feels really wrong. And so, so I just wanted to kind of frame that in terms of, once again, going within and being like, why would that happen to me? Like, I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to be like, oh, poor me. Like, she beats me up every life. That's not what I mean. It's more looking at the deeper soul lessons. For me, it's finding power within myself to stand up for myself and feel worthy of standing up for myself. For her, it was learning how to have power and not abuse it. So it's two sides of the same coin. That's how she and I played it out. So hopefully this gives some perspective for you guys if you do encounter people that feel icky, especially if they're like a friend or somebody that you're connected to. I know it doesn't quite touch on what one of you wrote about with, this was someone you didn't know, as like a friend of a friend. And that's, I know that's probably a different subject, but I wanted to tie it all together with soul level healing, because that's the name of the group, and why these things happen, that when they feel really disturbing or uncomfortable and push a lot of buttons and trigger a lot of stuff. There's always a deeper reason. We're trying to learn stuff. We're trying to heal stuff. We're trying to clear old wounds from other lives. So that was the best way I could think to tie the two together. But I can talk a lot more about each one if you want. The other thing, this is now 11 minutes, but the one last thing I wanted to say was I would love for you guys to post what you want me to do videos about, because I need to get back on this. I really want to get back on this. I've missed talking to you guys, and I want to do it around things you guys want to hear about and learn about. So feel free to post things that you want to talk about. Like these two subjects were a perfect example, and if you want to hear more on either one, let me know. If there's other stuff, let me know. For the new people, there are videos in the video section around inner child work, chakra work. I'm thinking I'm going to get more into past life stuff now, because that's kind of the next layer down of healing. So I'll probably do more videos around that. But yeah, whatever comes up, let me know. And as always, feel free to PM me if you guys feel like you need some extra help. I'm here. I love working with you guys. And I'm available. So here I am. All right. I hope everybody's doing well, and enjoy the moon tomorrow, and take good care of yourselves. All right. Lots of love. Bye.